Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Music and Moonsalts. I am your host, Chris Bourdine, and joining me today, they call him a Psychotron. It's Joel Pearl. Joel, how's it going?
I need to break out my old Polaroid so I can make the sound too from the beginning of the song.
Right.
Chris, I'm doing great. I love doing these shows with you because we get to nerd out about music that we both love, and you and I know each other from like the wrestling sphere. But when we get to cross over and talk about the music stuff, I always enjoy it a little bit more because wrestling takes up so much of my talk time. So these are things I can look forward to.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice change of pace.
Absolutely.
So, Joel, obviously, he's been on a bunch before, and he's back. And today we are talking about we're that time again. It's another 30-year anniversary. This time, Megedeth, Countdown to Extinction. I'll spit it out
for
eventually.
Me to say.
Yeah, exactly. Came out July of 1992. And hard to believe it's been 30 years already.
It really is. I remember listening to this album, God, all the time. I still am a really big Megadeth fan, but I was a really big Megadeth fan in my like teen years into my 20s. And this was one of my favorite records. It really was. I just remember listening to it on walks to school and back, and it was one of my favorites.
Okay, yeah, cool. So, I mean, obviously, the drill. Usually I start out asking, your relationship to, in this case, Megadeth, and then why, I sent you the spreadsheet, and this is one of the albums where you indicated that you wanted to talk about it. So, what's your, relationship to Megadeth and this album specifically?
So, like I said, it was just a huge album that I would listen to. Not only one of the more successful and cult like followings for their discography, but like just banger after banger. Like if I'm looking right now at the list, at the song list, there's nothing on this record that I don't like for some reason. Like the only song that I'm sick of on this record is their biggest hits, and we'll talk about
and that's only their biggest hit.
Exactly. And then other than that, like everything on this record just slaps. I love it. And my relationship to Megadeth, man, I would go and see them as often as I could. I once took an overnight, going from Toronto to Ottawa is not an overnight bus, but like a bus that left at 9:30 p.m. in the evening, got in 5 hours later. So it was at 2 a.m. I did that trek just to go see Megadeth on tour with Heaven and Hell and Down. Heaven and Hell were the high they were the main act.
Headliner. Okay.
They were the headliners. Thank you. The words that just
yeah.
So they were the headliners. Megadeth was on just before Heaven and Hell, and Down opened the night. Down were incredible. Megadeth were incredible. Heaven and Hell had an off night, and I left that concert early.
Okay.
And I just remember being like, oh God, that sucked. Sidebar.
For those of you, just real quick, for those who don't know, Heaven and Hell was the Ronnie James Dio lineup of Black Sabbath reunited, correct?
Yeah, exactly that. And so they were on tour for a plethora of years leading up to Ronnie's death. And so the good part of the story is that I would see Heaven and Hell about a year or two later, and they blew me away. And so it all made good. I think they were on with Motorhead, Testament, and there was another band, and I saw Judas Priest. So out of all of that, I saw Heaven and Hell again, and I was like, just redeemed. Perfect.
There you go.
So, but other than that, Megadeth, I made treks to go see Megadeth. I saw them at Heavy TO. I saw them at Heavy MTL. I would go and see Megadeth whenever I could. I almost went to go to Hungary to see them when I had some time. This was like 10, 15 years ago. But Megadeth have been hugely impactful on me as a musician and me as a metal fan.
Nice. So they're part of the big four of thrash metal. So are they for the layperson? If Metallica's like the WWE, to put it in wrestling terms, Megadeth would be like the WCW or the AEW, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment. Yeah. Absolutely, especially I would say even the AEW, because let's take Cody Rhodes, who came in as an EVP.
Right.
He left WWE. He did a lot of things in the middle, but then he would join
Yeah.
Megadeth or form AEW in this case. That's kind of how I would explain it to a metal fan who's like kind of into wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I think it's pretty apt for you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, speaking of, so last year you came on, we talked about Metallica's Black Album. Do you see in this album, is there anything, and kind of talk about the relationship there with between Megadeth and Metallica, and then do you think what Metallica was able to pull off the year prior had like any influence on Megadeth on this album? Because it's definitely they definitely went, much like Metallica, went a little bit more mainstream on this album.
So knowing Dave Mustaine and the way that Dave is discussed in the media and the way that he talks himself, he absolutely would have heard that Black Album and said, oh, I can do better, or I can do my version that's going to be different, but whatever, better, but different. Whether or not he gets there, it's a completely different story. Objectively, he cannot, because that was a runaway freight train of success for Metallica. But Countdown was still significantly different of an album compared to other Megadeth albums in terms of quality of recording, just the quality of the writing, the quality of the musicianship. Things changed and things got better for Megadeth after this album and with this album. So I see the similarities in wanting to be better because of the album, but with obviously the negative being you're not going to beat Metallica at what is their best-selling album of all time, and what was a on fire album at the time too.
Yeah, definitely. So just some the facts and some facts and figures here. Like I said, they released the album July 14th, 1992 on Capitol Records. Megadeth is like they're like the Spinal Tap, where they've had like 135 members, and this is the second album with the quote unquote classic lineup with Dave Mustaine, David Ellefson, Marty Friedman, and Nick Menza. And the album entered at number 2 the first week on the Billboard chart, which is their highest position ever on the Billboard chart. Do you know what album kept them out of the top spot, Joel?
Oh, no, I don't. Please tell me.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
I was going to say, like, it's 92. Grunge is pretty much on the decline. Like, where are we? So Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yes, the Some Gave All Billy Ray Cyrus album, which obviously had Achy Breaky Heart on it. And it's funny, because I was thinking about that, about what you said about grunge. So I went and I dug up what the best-selling albums of 92 were, just to see where this where Countdown kind of fits. And it's way down in like the 60s. It sold a little over 2 million albums that year. But if you go through, it's not a lot of grunge as far as the rock acts go. There's still a lot of like Bon Jovi is up there. Def Leppard is the 14th highest selling album of the year. So it's kind of mixed. But Stone Temple Pilots Core is the 8th. So there is some of the grunge coming through, but yeah, it's just a weird time where grunge is definitely gaining momentum, but it's still not quite got the chokehold on rock music as it would here in the next, by 94. So I just thought that was interesting.
It's wild.
Yeah. So they've the album's produced by Dave Mustaine as well as Max Norman, who actually he produced like the first 3 or 4 Ozzy solo albums.
He also mixed on Rust in Peace, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So he had prior Megadeth experience. Mm-hmm. He knew the level of how do I put this nicely? Obsession, crazy, nuttiness. He knew what to expect from Dave Mustaine.
Right. Well, and in the years, I don't know if they've made up or not, but in years since he's kind of accused Dave of like trying to steal all the credit for the success of the album.
Whoops.
Go figure.
Yep.
And so they recorded the album early in 92 in Burbank, and it's during the Rodney King riots. So they had to finish all their work every night by 6 p.m. because that was the curfew during that time.
Jesus, could you imagine?
Yeah.
They like roll into the studio at 4 p.m. and like, we got 2 hours. What do we do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like, all right, we just set up and it's 5:55. Let's go.
Right. So yeah, those are just some tidbits that I found interesting. I kind of want to save the two big songs for last. What besides Symphony and Sweating Bullets, what, we don't have to go in order. What's besides those two songs, what's the first song that sticks out to you on the album?
Skin of My Teeth.
100%. Okay, the opener. All right.
That opener with that drum fill.
Yes.
And just the blazing guitar, like that song, that is one of the most perfect openers you can have on a Megadeth record, or really any metal record.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that song a lot too. It's just a great riff, and like you mentioned it, that drum fill. I always love albums that start off with just a crazy drum fill like that. Like,
it sets the tone. It really does. Your album is your statement. It is. It's your hypothesis. It's everything. And to open with like this blistering drum intro, it just like sets the tone. And the whole record, when we talk through it, and if you go back and listen to it, it doesn't stop. Like, there's very little that slows down. And that's from that opening drum fill.
Yeah, definitely. What about let's see here. Let's go to This Was My Life. What about that song?
Probably one of the not least favorite, but it's not high on my list. I think it's one of those ones that once in a while I'll skip through if I'm going through the album. But I don't know. It doesn't stick out as much as other songs on the record, to be quite frank.
This is the one that, to our discussion earlier, had the most Metallica to me feel to it. The main riff, the da na na da 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 da, and then especially when he does it after the chorus and he goes does the Hetfield and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, he's taking that chromatic thing, that Metallica chromatic fall, and he's using it. Yeah, it's very, you're right, it is pretty Metallica-esque. And then of course he's like talking over the verses. He's not really singing. It's not typical Dave. It's just him being very in some ways remorseful, in some ways completely just upending his own life, talking about things that have happened to him, or the fictional character that he's talking about.
Yeah. What about, let's see here. Let's go to Psychotron, the song I introed you with.
So I like Psychotron. I know a lot of people don't. They think it's just cheesy as hell, but it's a comic book nerd song. Yeah. That's really what it is, and it's fun. The riff is catchy. I've listened to the when they did re-releases once upon a time, when Dave was like out and maybe never playing again, yada yada. He did clearly. When they re-released it, I keep hearing the demo track show up on my Spotify, like on random.
Oh, okay.
And I'm always like, please stop. I want to hear the real song. But this is definitely the Psychotron that came out with Countdown was a billion times better than where they started with the demo. I'll put it like that. But it's a good tune. It's a catchy tune. I like it.
I'm that way with the like some of the Motley Crue records, like Dr. Feelgood. They'll throw some of the demos on there. I'm like, no, just give me the real one.
And that's the thing. Like these producers will often push the talent in the band so much further than where they started. Like, it's the one thing that I don't think music fans often give credit to the people behind the scenes. The producers of these records, like self-produced records, sometimes really do find success, but some of these producers really do become the unsung heroes of the process, because they are pushing the band to think outside of their own comfort level, outside of the box. And we talked about I forget. I think we were talking when we were talking about Load.
Yeah.
Actually, we talked about how Bob Rock had pushed Motley Crue to do more stuff in drop D.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Black Album because we were talking about Sad but True.
Yeah.
Because Metallica didn't know that there was notes lower than E on the scale. That was the joke. Yes. And then he said do it in drop D or do it in D. And he did the same with Motley Crue. And but that's the thing. It changes the song and it makes it better. And that's what a good producer does. And so I love it when a producer comes in and changes things just enough that the song is still true to the artist, but it's still it's still the right sound and the right feel for the record.
Yeah, I definitely think I think it's I think in pop music producers get a lot more credit than, for whatever reason, rock music just seems, unless you're like an Ezrin or a Bob Rock or a Mutt Lange, like other than that, most of the time the producers really don't get a lot of shine.
I mean, in pop music, it's because there's like 26 producers and 18,000 writers because everyone got one letter in or one word into the song that eventually won a Grammy. But with the bands, when it's like a 4-piece rock band, everyone just assumes, oh, it's a collaboration, or it's just this one guy. You're right. It's strange that in pop, but again, in pop, there are many more producers involved. There are many more cooks in the kitchen.
Right, especially nowadays. I was thinking more like like in the mid 2000s, Timbaland was,
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, for sure.
Or even going way back, Quincy Jones way back in the day. So
I was about to say, Quincy was definitely one of those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, with rock, it's often seen as the band went in, the band knocked it out. Nobody else did anything other than whoever mixed and mastered.
Right.
Yeah.
What about, let's see here. Let's talk about the title track.
I like Countdown to Extinction.
I do too. I really like this song.
I'm trying to remember the riff right now because oh yeah, there we go. Sorry, I had Foreclosure of a Dream in my head for a second. We'll talk about that.
We'll go that one. We'll do that one next. Yes.
Sure. Why not? With Countdown, it's such a fun riff, and I love the bass solo at the beginning.
Yes.
Dave Ellefson doing that kind of drony bass solo. It's perfect for the song, and it works. Again, I go back, I listen to the demo. Not a lot changes, but what does change from the demo to the finished product is big enough that it makes the finished product that much better. They added more space to the song in the original remake versus the demo, which just kind of plays right through. It goes through. There's a little riff in the middle that makes no sense, so they turfed it and they brought in just big goose notes, and that was it. But it's a great tune.
I love the dual guitar harmonizing solo.
Yes,
I'm a sucker for that type of thing. Give it to me. Give it to me all day long. Funny, so the title actually was suggested by Nick Menza. He was reading an article in Time magazine and suggested the title, and they won an award from the Humane Society for the song, the Genesis Award for raising awareness for animal rights issues. That's
so weird.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the song is basically about environmental concerns and anti-trophy hunting and stuff like that.
I mean, shit, you're right. You're absolutely right thinking about it. Yes. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, and it's just such a good metal song.
Yeah. And Foreclosure of a Dream is another one where a lot of like economical issues and social inequality. There's a lot of political on the old album here.
That is Dave's whole bread and butter. He was always a very political singer. Yeah, exactly. Like he's very much a political mind, and he likes to incorporate that into his lyrics. I'll never forget, like in Foreclosure of a Dream, you've got that middle part with is it Bush Senior?
Yeah.
So read my lips. The government wants me to raise taxes, and I say no, read my lips. And I'll never forget that when I was a kid, going, listening to that tune and trying to play it on guitar too. I was trying to like learn that riff, and it's such a good song because it's different. It starts not just slow, but it starts very light, which is weird for metal, but then it builds into it like that. Just going into that chorus, you finally start hearing the double bass drum in the chorus, and everything picks up as it does.
Yeah, the chorus I don't think it's the exact same chord, 2 chords or whatever, but the pattern reminded me of the end from Abbey Road.
Okay.
The part where they're, everyone's soloing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of had that same type of pattern to it.
I can hear that. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, just a good song that had a bit of an effect on me as a kid, for sure. I'll never forget that song, and I still listen to it when it comes on. It'll always play.
Yeah. Let's talk about skydiving, high speed dirt.
So yeah, this was at a time when Dave was like kind of trying to get away from drugs, and this was one of his ways of satiating his other addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so he takes up skydiving, and he gets really into it, as addicts tend to when they switch from one thing to another.
Right.
And he gets addicted to skydiving, and he starts singing songs about what happens if I don't make it, or what is skydiving. You're free falling through the air, and you go in on your first jump on your own. You don't have anyone else there, maybe no parachute. It's a really fun song, and the song itself, like, just again, blistering riff.
Yes,
love the intro. Good driving song, and I don't mean that in the traditional of like a driving music, but I mean like in
while
the car
driving.
Yes, it is that song. It's really good.
Just watch your speed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, get your lead foot going.
Yeah, exactly. No, it made me, especially like in the first verse when you talk about becoming a crater or whatever, and it reminded me of in Wedding Crashers, the Will Ferrell. I mean, that was hang gliding, but still, it was the same thing. I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, God, you're a dirt torpedo.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wild. I love
it. Architecture of Aggression.
So this song took a little bit of time to grow on me,
because
it's got a really staccato riff, and I had to I just kind of had to feel it out. And eventually, when I got into more prog rock and started getting an appreciation for like odd time signatures, not that this has odd time signatures, but it's a different sound. So I started to appreciate it once I got into it. The song itself, it's fine. Again, it's one of those, like, it's on the record, it has a purpose, but it's not a song that broke out in my brain. I can hear the riff because it's so different in the timing, but other than that, it's just kind of there.
Yeah. Apparently, keeping with the early '90s, George H.W. Bush, that I guess that song is about Saddam Hussein.
Yeah. So at the end, they have the flight pilots on the radios radioing back and forth about firing missiles.
That's right.
And saying they look like big long snakes in the sky because they were jettisoning too much smoke or whatever.
It's very, I mean, style-wise, it's nothing like it, but the extra production on the song, the opening with the machine guns, and it very much, I don't know if you're familiar, Gods of War off of Def Leppard's Hysteria album. It's very much, because it opens up with a lot of gunfire sounds like that, and then at the end, on the outro riff, it's a speech from Reagan, because I think during the Cold War time, so.
Ballsy of them to do this 2 songs in a row where they open up with these kind of string arrangements, and then it plays into the song. Normally you wouldn't do that 2 songs in a row, but also ballsy of them to do what kind of sounds a little Metallica's One in the opening of that. So just something that I remembered as I'm thinking about the track listing and what else was happening in music around that time. One was like 5 years earlier, but it still counts.
Right. Let's Ashes in Your Mouth, the last song on the album.
I love this, especially the outro. Just the repeat da 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 on the way out. It's a good tune. So I'll shout out my buddy DK, who's on Twitch, Daniel DK. He plays this song all the time when he's live, and it's such a good rock tune. Like, it's such a good riff tune. The solos are great. Just a wonderful fast-paced solo. And they do the double solo again, don't they?
Yeah.
The double tapping solo. Yeah. Stuff like that is great. Love it.
It's definitely one of the more traditional thrash sounding songs on the album.
One thing that I love about the song too is in terms of its structure with vocals and guitar. I like that the chorus, they do the guitar matching the vocals. Yeah, so it's a really good, like the na, 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 and then the guitar breaks and then they pick it up again. I like sometimes when it fits, when you have the vocals matching the guitar line. It's good stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the last one before we get to the two big songs. Captive Honor.
Son, your soul better belong to Jesus, because your ass belongs to me.
Yeah, it's very this
life.
One, yeah.
What do you mean? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say this reminds me or like it's with all the speaking part, different speaking parts, the judge and the cellmate, and it reminded me of Operation Mindcrime.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. They had Nick did the screaming, right? The white guy screaming, the jail, the guy's getting put to jail.
I could that sounds right. Yeah.
I think it was Nick who did that, and the rest of it, I don't know who did the other voices, but he does the life. What do you mean life? I ain't got a life. I'm pretty sure that's Nick.
Okay.
But the song itself, it's fine. One of those, like, it's there, it's on the record. This is probably it's the most storytelling song on the record, and for that it's great because it's totally different from the rest of the tunes. But like just picking it out of a lineup and listening to it, I probably wouldn't give it too much thought.
Right. Yeah. It's probably not probably. It definitely is like my least favorite song on the album for sure.
Yeah, I get that.
All right. Sweating Bullets. This is probably my favorite song on the album, to be honest. And it's probably cliche, but I love this song. I love the before they get into the solo, the And then I love how once the solo starts, he plays the exact same pattern on the double kick. Like he transitions to, I love that.
The solo is also really good in that just the patterns that Dave is picking to play, it just fits it really well. The video for the song is still hilarious. Great. Yes, having Dave in a institution being spoken to through the mirror and everything. I'll never forget watching that stuff. The song is highly memorable. And like you said, like that little part before the solo, leading into the solo, it is very memorable. We both just did it at the same time because I think we both saw like it's a good song. The way that they intro it now live is the way that they did it on an old mix, which was the guitar just kind of playing the instead of the, like they do a solo style of the intro and then they hit the intro live, which I appreciated. I think that's much better in a lot of ways. It kind of opens the song differently. I like it, but the song itself, it's just a really great song. It is on all of their set lists.
Oh yeah. Well, it's so it's the 7th most streamed song of theirs on Spotify. At over 31 million plays. And there was some. Oh, I love the chorus. Just has a real nice groove to it.
Yeah, they do the open hat, or the open hi-hat, not open hi-hat. Sorry, open ride cymbal.
Yeah,
and it just works. Yeah, it's just a solid tune.
Yeah. All right, it's time. Do we
have to?
I mean, we got to at least talk about it a little bit. I mean, it is only their biggest song at over 197 million plays on Spotify.
Is it Gears of War? Is it that song?
Yeah, exactly. Symphony,
Gears of War.
Symphony of Destruction. Sorry. This is, I mean, it's by far their most popular song. Yeah, it's as much as it's overplayed, it's a good song. I like it.
It is.
I mean, because it's so simple. Like, especially like, I just love the way Ellefson just the way he just drives the song with just a single note.
Yeah. So it is. It's such an easy song, but it's deceptively hard.
Oh yeah.
In some of the parts, and so you and I both play bass. We both done work with bands and stuff like that. Have you ever played this song with a band?
No.
No, but have you ever tried to learn this tune?
No, I don't think I have actually. I don't think I've ever sat down and tried to play it yet.
So the first time I ever had to learn this tune was for a bandioke karaoke with a live band.
Okay.
This was recently too. Like I'm just talking very near pre-pandemic, like 2019. Right. And it may have even been early 2020. I was asked to learn a bunch of tunes, and I learned this tune, and I was like thrown off by some of the playing that's involved in it. Dave Ellefson is a sneaky bass player.
Oh, yeah.
He's really solid. Like you said, he drives that song, but there are little things that he'll add in that make the song a little more interesting to play and a little more tricky if you're doing it, playing it live on an instrument. So that was the first time I ever touched it.
You can definitely tell the Gene Simmons influence on him.
Yes. It's there.
Yes. Because especially there's a lot of, it's subtle because at this point, obviously you can hear the bass during the verses because it's basically just him driving the song along. And the dun dun, and then Dave, Mustaine, sings a line or two, and then, but once the chorus kicks in and the guitars come in, the bass is a little more buried. But if you listen, he does a lot of walking during that chorus.
Did you ever listen to the demo for the song?
No. Mm-mm.
So the demo opens with it's like a dun dun, like the riff opens. Mm-hmm. And then they go right into like the pre-chorus stuff. It's very strange. It's very, again, kudos to a producer who sits down and makes the song better, because that's what it did. Go back and listen to it. You'll find it if you're on Spotify. You'll find it on any of the remaster records. Mm-hmm. But you can tell the difference and the workshopping that was done to Symphony of Destruction to make it the song that it became, and how much better it sounds the way that it became. It is definitely their most memorable song. Clearly their most popular one. It's played at every single gig. Everyone wants to hear it. I get it. But it just like Sandman. Yeah. Just like I don't know. Pick your favorite band's number one tune, and you probably got. Yeah, there you go. Whatever it is, you probably been like, all right, we're done. I got it. Perfect. Exactly. But you got to play it. But you got to.
But yet, even though I know it's the last song, I can never bring myself to leave the concert when Rock and Roll All Night hits. So,
exactly.
Whatever.
Because you may be sick of hearing it, but you never get tired of listening to the crowd react to it.
Yes.
Because they go wild. And that it's the energy that's there.
Exactly. And then one more thing to put Ellefson over, he has a nice little lick at the end of the solo, going back into the main riff.
Going back to reason number 879 why I hate playing Dave Ellefson songs. Especially when I work with band leaders who are like, no, can you do that just like in the song? And I'm just like, you son of a bitch, fine, okay.
And it's one of those things where, when you're playing, like you said, with a band, the karaoke thing you're talking about, if you left it out, no one but you are even going to notice it. But
exactly.
But you'll know. And it's like.
So I don't know about you, but I do know. You play Hurdle.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You play Hurdle. Yes. And so do I. And the one thing with Hurdle that always like cracks me up is when I hear something the first time, and I'll ask my brother or any other musician about it and just be like, did you get today's Hurdle, whatever? And they're like, yeah, I saw you got it in one. What happened? And I'm like, you play the songs enough, they just become ingrained in your brain. Mm-hmm. And if you've had to play them bandioke style, you need to know everything about the stupid song. Mm-hmm. So it's like the blessing and a curse of working that kind of style of music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
So it was on the first Guitar Hero game. I remember that. It was really fun to play on that. It was on the SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. It was a remix version on the SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 game.
Really?
It's like a techno EDM remix version.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
It's like that's like the crush 'em of that version of that song.
I'll find it and send it to you.
It's the Gears of War version of that song.
It might have been. I don't know.
Gears of War.
Yeah,
That's an awful song. Please don't listen to Gears of War by Megadeth.
Okay. Well,
it's an awful song.
For me, whenever I hear the song, so there's a morning radio show in Detroit. Dave and Chuck the Freak. They started out in Windsor actually, and then made the jump and they were like neck and neck with the number one Detroit morning show, and then they made the jump like 10 years ago. Like WRIF, the big rock station, they kicked the long-running morning show to the curb and signed Dave and Chuck the Freak to come over and be the new morning show for WRIF, right? And now they're syndicated. I think they're in Boston and they're in a couple Florida cities now as well. But when they're doing the news, and anytime they have a story about an old person who crashes through the front of a store,
oh no,
they play Symphony of Destruction in the background.
That's awful. So one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is We Watch Wrestling Podcast. And if you've ever listened to these guys, they're one guy used to work for WWE, the other guy's as a musician as well. And they used to have a third guy who was a comedian. And every once in a while, they would do like a fake breaking news segment, and they would put in the opening to Peace Sells as like the intro to that little segment. So everyone does it. Everyone uses Megadeth and rips them off.
The bass lick.
Yeah. Doom, 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 doom.
Well, that was the theme song or the intro.
It was the MTV one.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Headbangers Ball. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go, ripping that off. Yeah. Good on you, Matt McCarthy and friends.
There you go. All right, Joel, is there anything else? I think we've pretty much covered this thing, but is there anything else about this album that you would like to say?
Like I said, it is such a wonderfully put together record for them. Like Megadeth really outdid themselves in this one. They would do Euthanasia next, and when we talk about that, inevitably it's another one that has like almost everything is great and a few but overall, like again, another album that just sets a tone for what Megadeth is as a band. They've always been political and politically minded, and they've always done it in a way that just really made sense in the metal sphere. I will never not listen to this record, to Countdown to Extinction. I think there's a place in my rotation for it all the time.
Yeah, it's a good one. So
just a bit.
Yeah, check it out if you have never listened to it or haven't listened to it in a long time. You'll enjoy it. Joel, where can people find you, man?
Oh God, do I got to do the plugs?
Do the plugs.
Fine. You can follow me at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl. I'm not hard to find. That's everywhere. I do a ton of stuff over at Fightful.com, including Thursday nights on their main channel. I host the Impact Wrestling post show. Myself and Cresta Star, who is a fantastic co-host. Can't put her over enough. She's wonderful. We break down Impact Wrestling every Thursday night. And over on FightfulOverbooked.com, that is our sister network where we have people from literally everywhere coming and talking about pro wrestling, their own love of it, their own version of what they expect from it, their breakdowns, their hot takes, whatever you want to call it. It's all over there. And I also host the Tim and Joel pod over there every Sunday at noon Eastern. And I got to put Chris over because over on the Fightful Select platform, I saw and I listened and I loved the review that you and Rob Wilkins did about one of the Ring of Honor and New Japan War of the World shows. I got to put it over because it was a really, really fun listen. And Chris did a really great job. I'll put you over probably like I did privately. Go listen to it if you're a Fightful Select subscriber.
Thank you very much, sir. I very much appreciate that. That means a lot. So, I mean, Jeremy's doing NBA draft watch-alongs. I say we need to do a watch-along of some kind of monster on Overbooked.
What happened to my old friend Dave when we used to, you know, cut a hole in the ground and smoke hash through the thing, and we were gonna build a wall to China, whatever the fuck the line was.
I missed my little Danish friend.
The little Danish friend. Oh God, that's such a fucking awful. Just my favorite scene, other than the Dave stuff, by the way, is when they do. The Lars is so pissed that he starts just yelling the F word, and then he gets right in James's face and yells it and then storms out. that is always in my brain. I love that one. But that, how old was I when that came out? I was 2004, 2003 when it dropped.
Yeah,
I was 16, 17. So like my teenage angst was probably at a pretty friggin' high.
Yeah.
Dude, maybe. That's all I can say. Maybe. We'll put it on Twitch, let the people figure it out.
There you go.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, you can find me at Chris on Twitter. Like Joel mentioned, my hurdle scores. That's the main thing I post there now. Because the wrestling discourse is just sometimes it's just better to just stay out of it. And so hurdle and videos and pictures of my kid. That's pretty much all I put on Twitter nowadays.
It's a pretty good timeline to keep, by the way.
I mean, I enjoy it, so
that's all that matters. At the end of the day, it's all that matters.
Exactly. And then you can, if you're watching this, you can, and you want to do audio, you can find me on podcast platforms all over. And if you're listening to this and you want to watch the video, just go to musicandmoonsalts.com. It'll take you right to the YouTube page.
Woo.
Woohoo. So, all right, we did it, Joel.
Yes.
Woohoo. Another successful album retrospective in the books. So,
which one's next? What do we do?
I think you have Billy Joel marked. I think that's in a couple months.
Yes, I was just talking about Liberty DeVito yesterday, so that's perfect.
There you go. So we'll set up a time. We'll do that. So
looking forward to that.
But until then, see ya.